share with you all some of the coaching work that we've been doing the first quarter. To start off with, kind of talking around the cycles, I currently have going with kindergarten with Heather Mink, and we're doing a reading cycle, and our goal is centered around kind of thinking about her students reading independently and really handling the parts of the book correctly, because kind of going off of the caps and some of those beginning of the year assessments, we felt that those were things that we really want to help build their habit and get them to build that reading stamina as well. And we've even added in a little bit with working with their partners too as one of our targets. And she's been very surprised because we're almost finished with the cycle already, and her kids are already doing their book boxes and started this week with actual book buddies instead of just talking to partners on the carpet. So we've gone even a little further than I think we had originally thought we were going to.
So it helped them get ahead of schedule?
In a way, yeah.
Okay.
And the rest of her team she's sharing all these ideas with them that we're getting going a little faster, and the rest of the team picked up on some of those too.
Awesome.
Yeah, she showed me some of the things, like the idea she said she was going to do like a wide bookmark and the visuals to make sure that they're meeting those targets.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be fun. I think the kids will love it, earning letters.
How much longer are you working with her?
So I have this week and next week, and then I'm done.
That's fast.
It seems super fast. We've done a lot of work with just looking at her class as a profile. Like here's one of the things, like how they sit in partners on the carpets, and just kind of doing some tracking. And that's how we found that we can move them a little faster too. So even though we're almost done, she's just picked up on so many different things that I think are really going to benefit her kiddos.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see how they are, because she'll be kind of doing some of those ending tests for getting ready for the end of the first quarter to see where they were from the beginning of the year. And I think we're going to be amazed at some of the growth we're seeing, because we're just through observation already seeing a ton of growth. So that's the reading cycle for kindergarten. And then I've got Reagan with fourth grade with reading as well. And our goal is much more in depth, but it's understanding how authors teach us a lesson through our interpretation of characters and theme. And we've been setting goals and kind of doing some tracking of their learning progression work. And so kind of getting the kiddos to kind of do more self-reflection. And so we've been working a lot and more so in small groups. We did just a little bit of an overview in the reading part, but she's been going through more of the actual reading lessons for that. And then in small group, talking about how can we self-assess where we're at on here, and then what goals do we set, because she wanted to start notebooks a little differently and have some sections with some goal tracking in her notebooks, and the kids are just really going along with a lot of it. We've been using some of the work that I pulled from New York last year with the toolkit stuff, and so we just made ourselves a little mini anchor chart of how do we work towards our goals, because we are saying we can give goals, but do they really know how do they get to it, how can they achieve their goal, and how can they set their own. So we've used some of that, and then some of the mini anchor charts just to kind of help us with some questioning and kind of talking through the kids when we are working in small groups of what questions can you ask yourself to get you to where you need to be on that progression.
Is she having them all set a goal on the same day, or
it's been very
small groups?
And then it's been very flexible, because we even had some, say for their character interpretation, understood it, we're able to support it with text evidence, so we're moving a couple of them along faster with the theme work than the lesson the unit calls for, just because they're ready to move on. So it's been very flexible and more differentiated based on where they are as individual students.
And these are both veteran teachers doing cycles, so that's a good thing.
Yes. And then I think also sharing some of the work with their teams.
Yeah.
Amy and I've talked about how can we maybe do some of that toolkit, work that I learned with her team. So we're wanting to see maybe about how maybe on the late start or something that we can get some of that kind of overview of some of this, because she's loving just those little additions to her small groups. So we'll see where we go from there, but we're excited to kind of be able to compare pre-post on the growth of her kiddos, because they have definitely carried over some skills from last year that we're excited to see. So a lot of the work that I think
That's
the
good.
teams last year is being noticed, this year by the fourth grade team as a whole. So that's really exciting. So upcoming with cycles around second quarter, just kind of depending on their units. Paj and Kiesel are going to be doing a partner cycle as a mentor, second year teacher. They're also attending the Learning Lab tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
That's based around formative assessment for the district. So I'm excited to help build off of that. They're looking at, before we talk some tomorrow, I'm hoping to have some of those opportunities throughout some of that time to decide exactly when we want to get started, because they were looking at some of their nonfiction units for around second quarter to kind of do our cycle with. So we're really excited about getting that going. I haven't yet sent the email out to the fifth grade yet, because I wanted to kind of give a little bit, about a week or so after we chatted a little bit on the support for them. So that's on my list of to-dos this week, to see if they're ready for a cycle second quarter.
I think that'll be good too, and I know that we discussed before, if it's not a mentor-mentee cycle, but just doing a partner cycle with our two new teachers, because I think that they're kind of partnering up and planning together for reading and writing anyway. I see them doing a lot of their, planning with the two of them, and then touching base more with their mentor-mentee, so you could kind of get both of those options for partner cycles.
Okay. So with that, those are kind of what we're working on with cycle work. What are you kind of currently, seeing or hearing, yourselves that to support in the literacy areas?
Well, I see.
Talk about your observation today.
Yeah, today I see a lot of really good, especially reading and writing. The workshop model is being. I was kind of worried that teachers said, because we haven't had as much training on that, with teachers having the New York teachers come in, we don't have that over here. So I was worried that maybe they had been lax, maybe their mini lessons were running too long and things like that. But every observation I've done in the area of reading and writing has been spot on. Great mini lesson length, good learning target, kind of like a I do, we do, you do type thing. It's been wonderful. The only thing I really see that they need to work on is purposeful small groups in writing. Reading, they've got it, and I know that they just finished DRA and SRI, so I think that data is fresh. And so you can definitely tell that their reading groups are planned for strategy groups or guided reading, and that they've used assessments to guide that. But with writing, they're still kind of bringing kids back who are struggling in that moment, and they're not having that purposeful learning target planned ahead of time for writing. And so it kind of depends on the teacher, how they call those groups back, whether it's in the moment, whether it's planned towards a learning target, or if she's just walking around conferencing. But that's the only difference I see between reading and writing, really. And I think what I hear is a lot of our teachers are kind of struggling with meeting all the needs of their students in small group. They seem to feel that, everyone always wants more reading interventionists. We would love to have two. And then it's that balance of, should I meet with my yellow kids more or my red kids more? What should I do there? If my red kids see the interventionist and I don't have a lot of time because I have a lot of yellow kids, and I've heard a lot of those discussions with teams on how to best meet their student needs and how to organize all that.
So are you seeing some of the same kind of trends then to kind of build off of that?
Yeah, I'm seeing, I think what things we're lacking the most and what I've seen is just having the scales available and the kids knowing how to rate themselves in their scales, and just other than just a generic scale. We have the generic scale out there, but I think more specific to the skill they're working on or the target they're working on is what I like to see more of.
Okay.
And I think like what you're doing with, I almost called her Hoover, Reagan. What you're doing with Mrs. Reagan, with them doing that student goal setting, that individual goal setting, I feel like the scale part needs to come first so they know where they're at. And I think that some teachers are kind of skirting over that portion, and I don't know if they know the importance of that in relation to student goal setting, because they kind of want to jump over that self-reflection and, well, I'll do individual goals for my students, but they don't really know, the student doesn't really know where they fall on that progression to make a goal.
Yeah, we were having them self-assess on their response from the pre-assessment. we already looked at them and kind of sorted them into groups, but then instead of us just telling them right away what we felt they were, we had them do that self-assessment of that 1, 2, 3, 4 along that progression. So it really helped them have more ownership, I think, in that piece. But those progressions in the upper grade are very easy to use then within that category to be able to lend itself to what you were wanting, to see more of, I think. So I think it would be harder. Well, they could do it in writing easily with the writing checklist, because I think that's what Heather was talking about.
And I did observe Heather, and she used, I didn't observe her yet. I had a pre-conference with her, and she was talking about using that writer's checklist for that. I also saw one of our special education teachers, Mrs. Gardner, use that 5-star writing as a goal. It was like she used it as a scale and a progression of, and she had a range, like, did I have all 5 stars? Then I'm a 4, and that kind of thing. And then she used that as student goal setting. She had the big 5-star on an anchor chart and with names on Post-its. And if they were missing one, they would move their name. And after they had mastered, like, capitalization, let's say, then they could move on to another part if they were missing another one of those 5 stars. And so they knew exactly what they were working on, which helped.
So how do you think we can help more teachers get some of these ideas? What are some ways?
I feel like I wish we had more time to share. I think my mind,
limited.
Yes, my mind always goes to learning walks, but really those kinds of things you won't see on just a quick walk. You would have to really go observe someone else teach a lesson. And I think that we've been trying to do a better job of sharing different engagement strategies at our faculty meetings. But maybe if we, and since we're going along with our newsletter each week, of the eye observation newsletter. So this week we had the teachers take a picture of their learning targets and put it on a Padlet. And then at our faculty meeting, we're going to kind of share those targets and make sure that we're all on the same page and understanding that. I know that the October eye observation newsletter is going to be on scales, so we could do something similar with that. And having teachers kind of share what they're doing and how easy it works, because I think the teachers that don't use them, especially the primary teachers, I know being a kindergarten teacher myself, hearing that you're going to use a scale with your students seems ridiculous until you see someone make it so easy and kid-friendly. So showing more of those examples would be helpful.
When are you going to reach out and ask for new cycles and things like that?
This week.
So maybe if you did like a video from Miss Meek, they can click on with like her successes from her cycle.
Okay.
Or maybe from Ms. Reagan, or just maybe even quotes from them that you could throw in there. Hey, this is what happened in this last cycle. Or maybe this will help you be more interested.
I like the video idea too, and I think showing what the kids are really doing. So you could show those goal-setting notebook pieces that you were doing with Reagan in the video, maybe, so the teachers can see what's actually happening. And the same thing with Heather's class, seeing kindergartners do something that you would normally think that you said you were ahead of schedule, would be really exciting for some of our even first grade and second grade teachers.
Our weekly newsletter with the staff too, possibly. Just those positive shout outs about it.
Yes.
The positive impact it's having.
And I think if you make any videos and do that kind of stuff, if we put it in our letter at the top, it's more likely to be seen and clicked on.
Yeah. Well, and if I can, so usually I used to wait till the end of the cycles, but I'm kind of liking that idea of sending it out now as I request for that next round, even though, it'll be kind of iffy, depends on the new teachers with what they will want, whether it's that mentor option or not. But I kind of like going ahead and getting that ready now, even though we're not necessarily done, but that doesn't mean
I like it too, because then we can still do we can show this little preview of what they're doing right now, and then when we do our celebration when you're done, they'll get even more feedback about how it ended up.
Yeah. Okay. I like that idea. So then does that kind of lead us on to that next step's the assessment wall? Where we're at with that.
Are we doing that Monday morning?
Yeah, Monday mornings,
So
big
our
day.
late start, we're meeting with all the teams.
Looking at their grade level wall, which first grade already moved their kids, so I always kind of click on our first grade wall to wrap my head around it. So I think we're going to show that at the beginning, just so they can kind of see what a completed moved wall looks like, and then we're going to show them how to move the cards before the discussions happen. But after they move all of the cards, have the discussions, and they're going to tell us their next steps, because they're all going to be at different stages. Because, like I said, first grade's already moved their kids. They're already working on a plan of how are we going to service these kids in our tiers. Are we going to switch classrooms? When are we going to do this? But other grade levels aren't there yet. They haven't moved their cards, so they're not sure exactly what the need is. So their reflection form when they leave will be the next step. So it could be at collaboration time, we're going to make our RTI groups and discuss their instructional needs. But another team might already have all of that down. They might have already, there might be planning the lessons and the progression of that and response forms and those things. So we'll get a form from each grade level team to see where they're at and what the next steps are.
So is there anything else then for that time that you need or hope for?
No, I think just using the time.
Yes.
We got to use it wisely and squeeze in a couple of things that are very important, and having everybody in the same room, hopefully it gets everybody on the same page as well.
Is there anything else in the future then, for future pieces like PD or anything that I need to be aware of?
No.
Okay.
And I think for us and Holly, when we're listening to those discussions, if we wanted to write down, like, if there's something that's like really prevalent that's people keep talking about, I mean, that would be something that we really need to make sure that we're addressing.
So do you...
But we're going to all be separated, so we'll have to kind of either take mental notes or put it on Keep or put it on our list or something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we need to set a time to meet right after, or look at when our next meeting is, and then that way Holly can join us too?
That's a good idea.
For that conversation piece. Because we've got, so that's Monday, and then the following Monday is when we have a time set, I think. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
The 8th. So do we want to see if she can join us at that time?
October 8th?
Yeah.
Sure.
That'd be good.
She may have to-
And we have leadership in between then, so we can kind of get some feedback from them, and then we can